for the proceedings at the Bomas of Kenya to begin. We've just seen another motorcade arriving, and Rashid, we've been here for 5 hours, so this is our 5th hour as we wait for the announcement of the 5th president. For how long shall we have to wait?
Sidhani kama tutasubiri sana, kama kwa wanapozungumza wachanganuzi Sam Gitu kwamba kama ashafika sasa hivi na ni saa 10, basi inamaanisha muda wote kuanzia sasa IEBC itaweza kutekeleza majukumu yake kisheria na taifa liweze kujua ni yupi ambaye amepata kura nyingi zaidi. Kile kitu ambacho singependa nikizungumze sana ni kwamba situmie neno na kwamba kuna mmoja atashindwa, mmoja atabwagwa. Ni maneno ambayo yanatia chuki sana kwa wafuasi. Kwa tuseme tu mmoja amepata kura nyingi alafu watatu wakapata kura chache, basi mwenye kura nyingi ndiye ambaye anastahili kupewa cheti na kuwa kiongozi. Kwa sababu sasa hivi hata ile sherehe ilikuwa inaendelea maeneo tofauti baada ya viongozi wote wamefika kidogo imetulia. Kumaanisha kwamba sasa hivi hamna sherehe itaendelea baada ya mwenyekiti kutangaza yule ambaye ameweza kupata idadi ya kura nyingi. Nafikiri ni siku ngumu sana kwa wale wagombea urais. Kushinda wale wafuasi wanaosubiri kujua nani atakuwa rais wa tano.
And the most interesting bit is that as we await at the arrival of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, we've seen a motorcade, we're waiting to confirm if indeed that is him. Then it would be a rare occurrence because, Steve, in 2017, we didn't see all the presidential candidates at the Bomas of Kenya. In fact, the most significant candidate was the winner, that is Uhuru Kenyatta at that time. And I'm talking about the August 8th general election. Should Raila Odinga make his way there, then this would be a historic moment where you find all the presidential candidates at the auditorium waiting for the announcement, which up to this point in time, it appears that it's only Wafula Chebukati's secret.
Well, I think the Constitution itself anticipates some minimum or residual level of political maturity and decency. And in a perfect constitutional and political setting, you would be expecting all the candidates that contested in that election to show up for the final announcement. So the failure by the Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to show up in 2017 can only be explained in terms of political bad manners. He needed to have shown up, show appreciation, and tell the IEBC, we have received the results, but we disagree. We're going to progress to the court. That is the kind of maturity that promotes peace and tranquility in the country. So we expect that if that indeed is his motorcade, that would be commendable. We would have expected him to show up, and if he has indeed arrived, then we thank him and we commend that action. We also expected the other candidate, David Maure, to also show up, just in solidarity, because he participated in the election to the end. Yeah, he's already there, yeah?
Yes.
That's fine. That is the kind of solidarity we need in our political leadership. It also helps to manage the tension. Because if a leading presidential contender fails to show up to receive the results, it demoralizes his support base. And in a country that is deeply divided along ethnic lines, you can see, even without intending, the action of absconding or staying away from the formal declaration of results, that ceremony, can trigger unrest. Because supporters tend to sympathize. Kriegler said, if you look at the IREC report, the independent review report that analyzed the management of election in 2007, they said Kenyans have a peculiar habit. They are heavily invested in the elections, that it makes it impossible to transition post the election.
And Rashid, on your screen you'll find the arrival of the Deputy President's mother arriving at the Bomas of Kenya alongside other family members, of course arriving here to witness the announcement from the IEBC, of which we still do not know the details, that Wafula Chebukati will be declaring to the country. Of course, ours is to wait for that announcement, just like even those friends and family of the candidates will also be waiting for.
Lakini pengine kuna swali mtu angependa labda pengine niulize. Kuna uwezekano kwamba hadi kufikia sasa walio pale hawajui nani ambaye ameweza kupata kura nyingi? kufikia sasa ikiwa sasa tushafika saa 10, na kuna uwezekano kwamba labda pengine wale viongozi wa karibu na viongozi wao, nauliza nyote Steve, Javas, na kuna uwezekano kwamba watu wanamuelekeo kwamba inaelekea ama bado kufikia sasa sio wote wanaojua sasa nini kinachoendelea?
You see, Rashid, what I think reasonably so is that it is unimaginable that the leading presidential candidates or the presidential candidates would get invitation, especially in the case of the possible winner, without being told or hinted that he has got the chances, because in this case you have got only the 4 male presidential candidates. Secondly, elections such as this are a national security issue. It is unimaginable, improbable, that, for instance, the head of the military would be unaware of who has won this election. It would be unimaginable that the head of intelligence would be unaware of this who is the winner. It is improbable as well that the head of the team amongst the elite squad in the military that protects or provides security to the president is unaware of who has won this election. So looking at it from that, or from those kinds of lenses, it is possible that the person seated within Bomas right now, there are those who know who is the ultimate winner possibly in this election, but it is just important that they embrace good manners and have civility throw its arms around them and wait for Chebukati, according by law or to the law of the country, to make the official announcement.
Naam, katika picha yako naangalia ni mama ambaye alimzaa William Ruto tarehe 21 Disemba mwaka 1966 kule Sambut kijijini Kamagut katika kaunti ya Uasin Gishu. Anajulikana kama Sarah Cheruiyot. Ndio huyo ambaye amefika akisaidiwa kutembea mpaka tafutiwa mahali yake, sehemu yake ya kukaa. Kwa ni kwamba amekuja pia vile vile kusubiri na kuona kama mwanawe huenda akawa amepata nafasi ya kuwa rais wa 5 wa jamhuri hii ya Kenya. Nafikiri ni mojawapo ya hatua nzuri Java alikuwa na tabasamu, lakini kama mzazi yoyote yule katika siku kama leo ungetamani kwamba labda ile ndoto ambayo mwanangu anapigania, kwa wazazi ni furaha, kwa watoto pia ni furaha kwa wazazi wao, na pia vile vile kwa mke ambaye watu wameoa pia wanatamani kwamba mume wangu alichopigania akipate. Kwa hiyo siku muhimu sana kwa familia, ndugu, jamaa na marafiki.
Kweli kabisa. Wacha niangalie kupitia kioo cha nyuma. Pale ambapo hawa wagombea viti vya urais walikuwa wanawateua wagombea wenza. Je, asubuhi hiyo wagombea wenza hawa hawakujua? Walijua. Ndiposa wengine wao walikuja na familia zao kadhalika. Sidhani kama nikiangalia jinsi desturi ilivyo hapa Kenya, kuna mtu ambaye anaweza chukua jamaa na jamii nzima yake aende katika kikao, akitoka hapo atokwe na machozi. Sidhani kama mtu anaweza kuwa na furaha kama hiyo. Lakini wacha tusubiri tuone, kwa sababu kila mtu hapa amekuja na jamaa.
Hatujaona ule ujumbe ambao umeandamana na
wengi manake hajafika
Raila Amolo Odinga. Pia tukiuona pia tutaangalia naye, kwa sababu tumeona tu magari ghafla yashafika katika mlango. Pia hatujamuona yeye mwenyewe kwa picha za moja kwa moja katika runinga. Kwa tusubiri, tukiuona tutakuja kujua kwamba je, ameandamana na nani na nani, alafu baadaye hizo hesabu tazeka na kweli.
Very interesting. I don't know if any of you was able to observe the events of 2013 as soon as the president-elect was declared by Isaka San, at that time the chair of IEBC, and maybe you could refresh our memories, if any of you remembers the change of guard sort of activities and ceremonies that followed that announcement up until the president-elect that time left the auditorium, in what could be what you might see this evening, if at all there's a winner to be declared.
Amazingly, because now it's almost 10 years.
Yes.
My memory doesn't serve me very right, but I think I was in these studios. But as expected, the person who's been declared president-elect, they normally, fall back to their official, would say, communication centers and meet, congregate with their supporters. And then we also know that officially there is the assumption to the Office of the President Committee, whose functions now kick in. So the protocols around the security detailing and other arrangements begin thereof. But in terms of the President-elect, those people around him, close supporters and supporters around the country, we know it's a jubilation. Kenyans will pour out onto the streets and markets and villages and start, and there are also speeches that are expected from all the candidates, whether, indicating the direction they'll take. The President-elect obviously will present, and if I recall 2013, a speech of magnanimity, promising to get to Kenyans together, to work together. Obviously, at that time, there was indication from the other side that they would go to the Supreme Court. They're not satisfied with the elections results, and that had been earlier, indicated. So it was sort of, at least, the difference between then and this year is that, as we've seen since Kenyans finished voting, and today we haven't had so much from the candidates.
What I'm looking for is the specific changes that you witness, because I remember in 2013 how Uhuru Kenyatta got into the auditorium is not the same way he left that auditorium. He was, of course, surrounded by security men. I don't know that they're women, and also different motorcade. He didn't ride in the same vehicle that he came in.
Yeah, for some, if you look at the provisions of Article 138, Sub-Article 10, that requires IBC to declare the results, and then you read it together with the provisions of Article 140 in terms of the timelines for swearing in. Of course, if the president-elect when the president-elect has been declared, his status then changes, he becomes, for all practical purposes, he becomes the president. Only for purposes of transition, he has to be sworn in, and therefore the outgoing president remains the president until the handover of power official has been completed, in this case perhaps on 30th of August, if there is no petition. Now that means that, of course, post the announcement, you can expect enhanced security, change of protocol, and he'll be treated as the president. You can expect communication, and I think Bobby has put it correctly, communication will now follow formal channels. Of course, as he walks out, he may want to give us a short speech, it is a Thanksgiving speech, but you can expect the protocol to change immediately post-announcement, and you can expect the outgoing president to gradually, minimize his contact with the public to allow the assumption of office, the committee on the assumption of office, to issue the official communication. I think by law, right now, the president, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, has probably completed the transition and is only in State House for purposes of handing over power. Should there be an emergency, then he will continue. If there's no exceptional emergency, he will be holding forth only for a limited period to facilitate the transfer. So yes, in short, we will have two presidents actively, one in office, one waiting to come in, but enjoying the same perks. That's what it is.
And of course, the president-elect will have an office of the president-elect can actually issue formal communication. Javas, you wanted to add something?
Well, yeah, that's very true. And then again, since the time when Kenyans went into election on August 9th, and new officials, new politicians, new leaders voted into office, we know that now the issue of incumbency that's temporary arises, becomes active. For example, right now, you know that we do not have a seat in parliament. All right? We do not have a speakers of both houses, the Senate and the National Assembly. There are some things now that, factually speaking, the executive can do to the limitation of the law, and also anticipating that the arm of government, that is the legislature.
Yes, girl, it's time to say yes. Say yes to the new look.